My name is Patrick Cook. Welcome to the next session of our tutorial series where we're discussing the Mandelbulb 3D as we proceed through creating a full Mandelbulb 3D animation. Now, in the previous session, we were talking about file saving and opening, or file management. In this session, I want to show you a couple more features pertaining to saving, opening files. If we take a look at this, in our last session we had talked about the M3I and the M3P. All right, one of them will save only the parameters, and the other will save the image as well. All right, and we also talked about saving the JPEG along with an M3P parameter. Okay, now if we take a look at the Save Pic tab, we can save our image as a PNG. All right, in which case, let's just say PNG. All right, there's our default the folder, which we had defined in the preferences. All right, so here is my PNG. Good. All right. Then you notice that the PNG saved at exactly the same pixel dimensions as what we had defined, 800 by 450, 800 by 450. All right, now we can also save this as a JPEG. All right, in which case we're going to be saving at a quality that we select, anywhere from 0 to 100, with 100 being the highest possible quality. We can also apply sharpening, all right, and maybe a sharpening level of maybe 2 would be about all you need. So I'm just going to name this JPEG. All right, so that's saved as a JPEG right here. All right, again, it saves at the same dimensions that you have defined here in your program. If I saved my PNG or my JPEG as, say, 1920, it would save the file, the JPEG or the PNG file, as 1920. All right, now, that's basically saving your parameter files, your M3P files, your M3I files, JPEG, and PNG. Now, what I have found is that I can utilize these saving as the images to be able to kind of track my progress with the application. Let's just say that I've got a lengthy animation and I've saved 10 times. All right, I've got 10 different versions as I built the animation. If I save these image files along the way, all right, and some sort of a file name that indicates where I'm at in the project, it gives me a visual that can help me kind of revert back to a point before, frankly speaking, I got lost, or I went down an animation path that just didn't work. So being able to save your image files as a JPEG or a PNG it can be quite helpful. It can help you kind of keep track of your project as you move along, especially if the project is rather complex. You get a long animation. At some point, you're probably going to be at a point where you're not happy with the way it's going, and you want to try to revert back. It's a lot better than just throwing the whole project away and starting all over again. So that's why I find that the PNG and the JPEG saving of the images is important, sort of as a project, kind of a project log, if you will. Now, there's a couple other things we can do here too. We can actually do a save to the clipboard. And I'm just going to punch that. Now, I'm in a Windows environment, so really nothing visually has happened. But if I call up the notepad, all right, and I paste that in, Control V, as in Victor, Control V, what it did is it outputted all of the parameters. All right, now that would be all of your formulas, all right, and your formula type, all of your lighting. That was all pushed out here too. Obviously, it's all encoded. You can't read it. It's kind of a code that it's like compressed code that the application understands. All right. So what I've done here is I've outputted the parameters. There's no image involved here. Now certainly I can save this to wherever I want, and I can use this as a sort of my project stepping points, in which case I might name the file, I don't know, animation, Pat's animation version 6A. That's how I'd name the file. And so I can kind of revert back, and here's how I would do it. Matter of fact, let me do this. Let me close the application to prove that we're actually going to be reloading this project based upon this parameter output. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do highlight. I'm going to Control C, as in Charlie, to copy it to my Windows clipboard. And then I'm going to open from clipboard. All right, and then I need to recalculate because these are just the properties. There's no image involved. Calculate. And so what I've done is I've restored my Mandelbulb image, and all my formulas have all been restored by copying the properties from the clipboard, which I was able to save to the clipboard. This is another way that you can manage your project as you move along. And it's also another way of kind of protecting yourself just in case there's a crash. All right, let's say, let's close that notepad, and I don't need that. Let's say I'm working along. I'm in deep. I'm working on a 3-hour animation. Just kidding. So you don't really want to save it to a file. You didn't want to lay a file down so much. What you prefer to do is to save it to the clipboard or to a notepad temporarily. All right. Say you're about to make a rather risky change to the parameter value of one of the formulas. So here's what you do. You'd save to the clipboard. All right. You could get a notepad up, paste that in, and go ahead and keep working. All right. And matter of fact, let's just kind of modify this crazy-like. All right, there we crazy-like. There we go. And then you say, you push that to main and recalculate it, and you say, geez, I don't like that at all. All right. So go back to your notepad. All right. Control A, Control C to copy. Open from clipboard, recalculate, and you're back in order again. Push pull the parameters over to the navigator. So the to and from clipboard can be essential for helping you bridge the point at which you make a rather risky change that you're not sure if it's gonna work out so much, but without laying a file down on your hard drive, the Mandelbulb 3D software has enabled you to store temporarily all of your parameters by saving to the clipboard, putting it into a notepad if you want. You don't have to. Going off doing your work. Oops, that didn't go so well. So you pull it back in from the clipboard. So it's just really a way of kind of managing your work as you move along, just in case it crashes, you don't like the path you went down, or somebody interrupted you, or you get a phone call and you forgot where you're at. You've got a quick way to be able to get your Mandelbulb animation, your Mandelbulb object back up and running very quickly. All right, so that's enough for now. On our next session, we'll continue to talk about some of the features and the functionality of the Mandelbulb 3D software, keeping in mind that we want to continue to build our animation as we go. So I'll catch you in the next session.